All right.
Hi.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, it's me, Elizabeth Nelson. And who are
And
you?
I'm Amy Rigby, and you're looking for the magic.
So, how are you? How was your week?
Well, it's things have gone kind of crazy. I mean, there were good things, but which I'll start with those. I've been working on this tea towel design
Cool.
for it's like a little Santa's elves factory here at our house. Eric's busy making paintings to put up. He does these great little guitars and chord shapes, and so he's been doing those. I've been doing a tea towel for like holiday gift type thing that I can put up for sale. And here I'll show you the picture. I just got the screen today, but this is my my tea towel. This is like the
Oh, wow.
drawing, and so yeah, I got the screen, and we'll be printing those towels up, and yeah, hopefully selling a few of those. Because yeah, there's been no income, no shows, so got to find a way to like earn a little money this month.
Yeah, that is a beautiful design. So will you be like silk screening it onto the towel?
Yes, right onto the towel. Yeah, just waiting for the towels. They're just like a simple unbleached cotton and 18 by 22, and then just with black ink. And
Nice.
so yeah, it's a fun project. I did one for Diary of a Mod Housewife,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so this one, yeah, just was like I got a little inspired and did a drawing and collage type thing, and so that's been my main thing this week. What about you?
Um, I am currently in the basement, so you're probably hearing some footsteps upstairs. I just finished a big copy project that I just turned in. I write copy sometimes for Fender guitars, so
Oh
I was very
wow.
happy to turn that in and be done with it for the time being. But I did have a recommendation this week, and I'm always so proud whenever I pick up a book and actually start reading it. It always feels like a huge achievement. And I've been reading this book called Eat a Peach. I think that's what it's called, by David Chang,
Oh,
who I don't know if you know him, but for the uninitiated, he is a Korean American chef who is also a writer and a podcaster and a TV show host at this point. But he made his break when he opened the Momofuku Noodle Bar in
of
Manhattan.
course.
And he's a really, really interesting person.
And
He was
is
diagnosed as bipolar.
oh
And so
wow.
this is his memoir about dealing with depression and also achievement and also just, being Korean American, and he comes from the same place that my husband Tim is from, which is the Northern Virginia, which is about 5 miles away from DC. So I'm very familiar with the areas that he's talking about when he's talking about his youth growing up and everything. But he was also very good friends with Anthony Bourdain, who you and I both have a real affection for, as I recall. And
Yes, yes.
I'm finding reading his book and his discussion of his own dealing with depression actually very helpful in my understanding of who Bourdain is as well, or who Bourdain was. And so,
Uh-huh.
because they were kind of like brothers in a way. And So yes, it's a really, really good book. He writes
Wow.
about depression in a very, very interesting way. And he talks about how his addiction is to his work, and that's like the last socially acceptable addiction.
True.
And so it's fascinating. It's really good. I highly recommend it. I think it's called Eat a Peach. It is by David Chang. And
Oh,
so that
did that just come out?
it did. It came out like
Yeah,
last week.
okay. Okay.
And
Oh,
a
wow,
good
that
entry point would be his interview that he did with Terry Gross on Fresh Air,
mhm.
which was also last week. So find
Well,
that in the archives and dive in.
I actually just read that he won Who Wants to Be a Millionaire last week.
Really?
I Yes, I mean this is completely crazy, but and he's like the first celebrity to ever win the show, and he gave and yeah, he won the $1 million, and he gave it all to restaurant workers, like to people who've been out of work, for months. But yeah, I don't. I mean that I just thought like, am I dreaming this? But yeah, he won. It was some sort of question about a president. I can't remember what the question was, and he had to call a friend.
Oh,
But then
really?
yeah, and then he took a stab, and then he got the answer right, and he won.
That
So
I
that
had no idea. That's
So
amazing.
I don't know. That's just like, I don't know. That didn't make it in the memoir, obviously, because it just happened. But I'm really interested to read his book. I've enjoyed reading, well, Bourdain and Eric Ripert, or however you say
Mhm.
his name. I like reading chef books, Blood, Bones, and Butter by
Yes.
Gabrielle Hamilton. Like there's so much like visceral detail, and it's just I imagine like they seem, well, any chef I've read has been really good at that kind
And it
of
feels like
putting
there's such
you
a
right
natural
there.
crossover between like doing music and being like a touring musician and being a chef, because you keep really weird hours. You're often kind of surrounded by a light criminal element.
Right.
You
No,
have
it's
to
true.
be certainly driven in a way where you're so convicted in your vision and the project that you're working on, because no one else is going to believe in it if you don't. And so that kind of, I guess, can sort of tenuously segue our conversation today, since we're supposed to be talking about music and stuff. And it's cool that Chang gave his money to displaced restaurant workers during COVID, because what we were thinking about talking about today is live music. And obviously, because of the virus, this is something that doesn't really exist anymore, because it's just too dangerous to have people in a crowded place um, communing with others and experiencing performers on stage. And so we've all had to make accommodations, and you're selling tea towels and Eric's making paintings, and,
We
we're
do.
picking up side gigs here and there. But I don't know. So yeah, so I think, talking about live music in this context now makes it even more meaningful, because he gave all that money to all these restaurant workers. So
I
I don't know.
know. I thought that was such a wonderful gesture, and perfect, but
Yeah.
it's it's been like 9 months now since all the gigs went away, and so yeah, it seemed like it would be fun to think of those good moments of live, and hopefully it'll come back. I'm sure it will
Mhm.
in some form. And of course, there's been plenty of things going on the internet you can watch, but there's something about that being in a room with people, and you don't really know. It's not just about you, the performer, putting something out there. You're getting something back, and that's what you
Mhm.
don't really get so much when you're trying to do it on camera,
Uh-huh.
like some of us have tried, and some people do it very successfully, and I guess they get in a groove with it.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess I always tend to like start at the beginning and go like, what was the first live experience that you remember,
Mhm. Um,
as an audience member?
I was intrigued by this question, because I wasn't even really sure like what qualifies, because like I wish I could just say like, oh, my parents were super hip and they took me to see like Sha Na Na at Jones
Hmm.
Beach or something. But um I actually grew up going to see a lot of musical theater at first, like, because I'm from Long Island. We just lived a short train ride into New York City. So my mom would take me to see Broadway plays, and I probably saw like a chorus line when I was way too young. Um, so that was like really my first sort of live experience. But I think like in terms of actual rock show, like it was way later. So I think it's a competition between They Might Be Giants at Stony Brook University, or Peter Murphy at the Roseland Ballroom.
Wow.
And I think it might be the Peter Murphy show, which I remember just being absolutely terrified, because it was just like a bunch of old goths, and they seemed really intense and hardcore. And I didn't really know what I was getting into. I just went with a friend of mine who had an extra ticket. And I thought it was just so cool and sophisticated to be in New York City at the Roseland Ballroom. And Peter Murphy was wearing like this skin tight blue jumpsuit with a big sun on it. And he was terrifying. And I was just really, really frightened by the whole thing. So,
I can imagine.
yeah. What about
Wild.
you?
Well, I had to go way back in my mind, and it was August of 1972. I had to look it up because I just thought, again, did I dream this? I was babysitting for these two kids in Pittsburgh, and their grandmother got me tickets to take them to see Sonny and Cher
Wow.
at the Civic Arena. And so it was that, it was actually, and I loved Sonny and Cher. I loved Cher, I loved their TV show. And so, it was just like, I just remember the audience being a total mishmash of all kinds of people, because they were, Sonny and Cher were on TV. But that was, I definitely remember them doing Bang Bang, So that was a pretty vivid one, and that was the first, and then of many arena shows that I saw in Pittsburgh, there were a lot of those, and then of course I came to the city in 1976 and started going to CBGB to see shows, which were a completely different experience. And, you were just like 10 feet away from the Ramones or Suicide or Television, all those bands. So I saw so many shows there. And but Sonny and Cher will always be my first.
Well, that's kind of cool.
I'm glad I saw them. I really am.
And what was the last show that you saw before the world shut down?
Well, this kind of ties into like the last show I played, which was in Florida in January. I was playing at this songwriter festival, and I was playing an In the Round with two other songwriters, David Olney and Scott Miller, and I'd known both of them when I lived in Nashville, and we went around a couple times, and David Olney had a heart attack right on stage, and he died that night. So that was, we were there with him when, and the audience was there, and all of us were together in this. So my last show that I went to was his memorial. I'm getting kind of emotional talking about it, I think it's funny because, like, had this whole pandemic not happened, I would have been out playing, and I probably would have, like, processed it all a lot more, like, in public, even, like, talking about it, and even maybe not on stage, but with people after the shows and stuff. But because I haven't had those opportunities, it feels like really raw and fresh. I didn't know that would happen when I brought it up. But yeah, the last show was this beautiful memorial for him at the Belcourt Theater in Nashville. I think it was March 9th. And I just went to be part of it. I wasn't performing. I just wanted to, like, be there when everyone was paying tribute, and it was just like, it was at that point where you were sort of saying, is it all right to be going out right now? Like, this probably is foolish, but I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to go. And I was so glad that I did. I saw so many of, like, the Nashville community songwriters that I love and revere, and then also a lot of fans, a lot of house concert. He was in that same sort of circuit that a lot of us are, where a lot of our promoters are actually just like fans who love music. That's the only reason they do it. They put on shows just because they want to they want to support the artists they love. They want to, have a place to see us play. So I got to see some of those people, and anyway, that it was a pretty powerful event. So if live shows never came back, I guess you could say I went out with a bang. But I think I feel sure that they will.
That's a very moving story. I'm trying to decide if it's to die as one lives, quite literally.
Well,
if that's the best outcome or the worst.
People who knew him, who knew David Olney really well, said that he actually had said he wouldn't mind going that way, and that made me feel better. No, and he was so dignified in doing it. He didn't fall over. He just kind of expired very gently in the middle. He was playing a song.
Wow.
And never let go of his guitar either. So it was really like as beautiful as something like that could be, So I think, it was poetic, and he deserved that, all the poetry in the world, really.
Wow, that's I don't know that I have a better story than that.
No, I'm sorry. I know, I haven't, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm going to be dining out on that story. It's not really one that I would, tell lightly, I guess.
Sure.
But what did you see? What was your last gig that you played or and that you went to?
The last show that we went to was to see the Drive-By Truckers, who are an amazing band and a fantastic live act. We were actually kind of in the first nascent conversations of going out on the road with them. And they're way better than we are, but Tim has known Patterson Hood, who is one of the main songwriters, since they went to college together in Athens, Georgia, and so they've been friends. And then I got to know him through Tim, and we really admire each other as writers, and became friends through that. And we have a lot of friends in common. So it was sort of a natural fit in terms of a bill. So anyway, and by the way, just to give a shout out to Oxford American, which I guess I'm honor bound to do every week. He also has an article in that music issue where he talks about his father, who's David Hood, who is the sort of famous Muscle Shoals bassist. So worth checking out, worth picking up a copy. But anyway, so we wanted to go see what their live act looked like. And so we went to go see them play. They had just put out this sort of very overtly political record called The Unraveling, which I also recommend. And so they were touring this record, and it was just a mind-blowing show. They're just an outstanding live act, and if you can go see them, they're great.
What venue?
It's actually,
what venue did you?
It was at the Cat's Cradle in Chapel Hill.
That's a
so great venue, great
long
band.
May it wave. I mean, God, I just don't think I could bear it if that place was gone.
I know.
It's just Frank Heath, the promoter's just been a believer in, just all good things for so long, and what a great place. Wow, that must have been an epic show.
It was really, really cool. And as I say, they were sort of touring this overtly political record that they have, and so we're there, and there was just the kind of the rumblings. I think it was late February, I want to say, and so it was we knew that something was happening, and so they played this fantastic set. They closed with a cover of "Sign of the Times" by Prince, and Patterson, right before walking off stage, he says, "The unraveling is happening. DBT motherfuckers." Gets off stage, they peace out, and then the world shuts down about a week later. So, I mean, it was just kind of okay, yeah, that was, prescient, I guess. Maybe it was just a coincidence, but
wow. And so did the tour stop there for them, or?
I think it stopped pretty shortly thereafter. Maybe, in Columbia, South Carolina, or wherever one goes after Chapel Hill on the great route of the, northeastern to southeastern corridor. So, but anyway, we
Yes,
didn't get to
that.
tour with them either. So that was a
Oh,
bummer
well,
because it would have been big for us and it would have been super fun, I think. And as I say, they're so good. And so I think they would really push us to another level of, being good.
well,
So
I hope it happens. I really do.
yeah,
Still,
it would,
there's still a chance.
it
Gonna
would be
get this
fun.
vaccine out and get the vaccine and
Do
hopefully
you and Eric, or Eric, have any shows kind of planned? Do you have anything on the calendar for 2021, or have you decided to just kind of lay out until we know
well,
for
I have
sure?
I have at least one. I have one sort of. It's an outdoor show right in the Hudson Valley, kind of at this outdoor site, and it's possible to do it as you know, it's fine to do it pandemic or not.
Hmm.
We kind of just went ahead and put that one in, and so other than that, I can't think of any. There was a festival in Wales that I was really looking forward to doing in March. It's books and music, so it's
Hmm.
they often have like Tracy Thorn, John Cooper Clarke, musicians who also are writers, and so I was going to get to go there with my book, and Eric was also going to appear there. It's called the Logarn Festival. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right in the Welsh
Oh yeah,
tongue, but
yeah.
and so that got postponed. First, they moved it till October, actually,
Hmm.
and we're holding out hope. Yeah, maybe it'll happen. And I really felt doubtful that we'd be able to get over to even
Yeah.
get allowed into the UK in October. And then again, I think he's postponed it again till March. So
Mm.
maybe I don't see how. I know they're rolling out the vaccine in the UK starting next week.
Wow.
So maybe things will open up a bit. But I'm just kind of, yeah, just sort of biding my time with all that and not worrying about it too much. That's why it's fun to do this with you, because kind of like, I mean, I actually like, took a shower and got ready, like as if I was going to be going on stage. It was like, it just felt so good. I remember reading an interview with Tina Turner once where she just said like, I always put on my own makeup before a show. It's my chance to like, connect with myself when I'm, so just like putting on an eyeliner
Mhm.
and, just kind of, you kind of talk to yourself and, just get yourself ready to like greet the public, even if it's just you and me.
Totally. Totally. And maybe the four people who are still
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Well,
Stephen
I see
Manning.
Stephen Manning
Hello.
is saying hi, so that's really nice. We actually have a viewer, a listener, like right there with us, which is wonderful.
So nice. So do you have a favorite show memory of something that you played, either as solo or as Last Roundup or as the Shams?
Um, there's, yeah, I guess I have them with all of those, but I really, I think of favorite memory, and maybe just because it's the freshest, was playing at the Mercury Lounge just back in 2000, early 2019. It was just a chance to play what was really like the first club for me doing solo shows in New York City. It just was an important place for me, and so it was like a dream come true to go back there. And well, actually, I'll correct that, because my dream really was to go back and play the Bowery Ballroom, which
Hmm.
is like 3 times the size of
Yeah.
Mercury Lounge. But, that didn't seem like that was going to happen as like a headliner. So, so it was like, okay, the Mercury, they were doing sort of hosting all the people who'd kind of been there at the beginning, and doing I think they called us like legacy or something of the venue, so they asked me to do it, and it was just it was one of those magic shows where you you almost feel like you're watching from above, and even if things go wrong, that it just all lines up so perfectly, and you just feel like this is it. It doesn't get any better than this moment. And so that, yeah, February 2019.
Great. That's
Thankfully it wasn't like 30 years ago.
No,
That would be pretty hard. It's like, still trying.
That was
to
it. Yeah, that
capture-
was the high point, and it's been downhill ever since. I love Mercury Lounge. We've played there a couple of times. And it's a really nice venue. It's a good sounding room. It's a nice sized room
so good.
too.
It's the perfect size. It really is, and it sounds great. So, yeah. What about you?
As we famously self-brand, all of our shows are rare public appearances, so we don't play out that much, and that is a choice. And but we have been so fortunate to get to know Wussy, who's the great Cincinnati rock band fronted by Lisa Walker and Chuck Cleaver.
Yeah.
I know you know very well from the and this actually ties in a little bit to our origin story as well, because I think it was 2016 we put out our first LP in July, and they were touring their Forever Sounds record, and so they invited us to play some dates with them in New York, and so we played in Albany at the Low Beat, which is where we met you and Eric for the first time. And it was a good show, but it was like the warm-up show for the Bowery Ballroom show that we were playing the next day. And we were so excited, and this was like the biggest venue, and obviously the Bowery is the best venue in New York, I want to say. And so we were really, really excited, huge opportunity. And so we're driving down from Albany in our guitarist / bassist William's car, and I am sick, like just sick, dog sick from the Albany show. I don't know what happened. It doesn't matter. But I'm like barfing in a plastic bag. It was Albany. Albany made me so ill. So I was throwing up in poor Billy's car, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm not going to be able to do this. Like
Oh my God.
I'm going to blow this enormous opportunity because I'm so sick. And so it was a very unpleasant car ride. And I can't believe that William is still talking to me after what I did to his vehicle.
Oh my God.
But I just kind of like took a minute. We were staying in a hotel. And so Billy and Tim and I checked into the hotel, and I was like, you can't fuck this up. This is like a big opportunity. And I just rallied, and we played like a really, really good set. I think probably there's somebody out there being like, the sound sucked, but fuck that guy. But it was so much fun, and the room was cool, and they were really sympathetic to us. And obviously we're opening for Wussy, who's this big sounding band with these like really powerful front people. And so it was awesome. And I'd like to think that was like really my finest hour. Maybe I'll have another moment where I barf before a show, and I can talk about that on another podcast, but that's probably my favorite one.
Wow. I know Eric always says Dr. Theater worked his magic. And you just pulled it. Isn't that amazing though, how that adrenaline and all, and there is that element of the supernatural that enters in there, where you just somehow are able to just get beyond what your physicality is telling you, and just, you don't even know how it happens. But
it was really, really magical, and so I feel like I spent one of my 9 lives that day or something. Just I just got lucky, and it was super fun. And so if the Bowery ever comes back, maybe Wussy will invite us to open for them again, because it was a great bill. It was so much fun. But anyway, I don't know. Is anybody still watching this thing? If they had any questions they wanted to ask us about live music or anything,
question would be great. I think what was I going to ask? Another thing I was wondering about, is there anybody that you still hold out hope of seeing if things, when things return? Is there like who's your number one?
that's a great question. I would go see Dylan anytime. I know we talked about Dylan last week, so that seems like a
So we're
trite
not allowed
answer.
can't mention him this time.
I know. Well, yeah, I feel like I burned
That
him,
guy.
But it's like I feel like there are like certain artists where it's like not to be ghoulish or grim or anything, but it's like you got to kind of seize every moment to see them while they're still here with us. And we're so lucky to still have Dylan. So that would be someone that if he was on the road, I would definitely like that chance. How about you?
Well, I'm really sad that Chuck Berry's gone, because
Yeah.
I think he was like the one that got away, the one I really, really just always felt like I should have gotten to see him play sometime. But so, given that he's gone, it's going to have to be the Rolling Stones.
Yes.
I've never seen them. And I honestly, it wasn't until I read Keith's book that I realized I really have to see them. I don't know. I mean, that kind of it reinvigorated my interest in them, and made me just like a fan of his all over again.
Yeah.
So I think that would be something to look forward to, something to aspire to.
Yes, absolutely. It's so funny you brought that up, because we were driving, Tim and I, in the car the other day, and I just kind of turned to him and I said, like, would you go see the Stones at this advanced age? If we were given the opportunity, and he was just not even like, just totally unequivocally was like, yes, absolutely, 100%. Yes, I would go see the Rolling Stones if they were playing a show tomorrow.
Oh, I thought you meant first like your advanced age, but you mean
well, his advanced age and
and their advanced age, yeah. Because it's gonna be going to a show like that is gonna be rough. It's gonna be horrible. You're gonna be like in this crowd with. I mean, now it's hard, like we can't even think about that right now. But just imagine like everyone's healthy and
for
more
sure.
or less. But even in the best of circumstances, the concession lines and the all of the pain of like getting in and out of a huge place and trying to park your, all of that does just sound like so hard to deal with. So yeah, I don't think anyone's like young enough to.
Oh no, for sure. It applies to both the
up
band and us. Yeah, we definitely don't have the endurance of a much younger couple. So it does apply. But he was still unequivocal that he would go the distance to go see them. And yeah, it's funny. Chuck Berry played my college. Like this was in the 90s, and he just kind of showed up, and he had a he probably just picked up a band of local musicians or whatever,
Right.
but he was amazing. Like, I mean, he's probably doing it for the money or whatever, but he still just smoked through every song, just totally amazing. So it's too bad that you didn't get to see him, because I remember that show really fondly. And I also remember being like, why is Chuck Berry playing the cool gymnasium at SUNY Geneseo? This seems totally insane.
Well, it's interesting. I was talking about this with someone. I can't even think like who do I actually encounter. Maybe someone at the local coffee shop. We were talking about who's lived upstate New York all their life, and I was saying like reading Peter Frampton's book, which we talked about back in episode 1. He talks about when they're putting together Frampton Comes Alive, they have to get a version of Show Me the Way, because the one, I think the bulk of the show comes from Winterland in San Francisco, but they get one from Plattsburgh, New York,
Okay.
from a live show that he did in Plattsburgh. And so we decided that, and it was, and recently, because of the book and him talking about where, they picked that song from, the guy who promoted the show in Plattsburgh kind of wrote a little something about it, and it was at SUNY. There's a SUNY campus there,
Yep.
the state university, and so it turns out like a ton of great rock shows in the 60s, 70s were 80s and on were put on by the activities board of these colleges, that they had a budget that like nobody, there might not be a promoter in the area who could do it, but they had the money to go find these bands, and Chuck Berry, whoever was looking for a gig around there and needed like a decent guarantee.
Yeah.
They, and also, the stupid like liquor laws in different states and stuff probably all entered into it too. So I know from, having played some of those college gigs myself, they can kind of go either way. You get super well paid, but like there's like three people there, the three that put the show together, and or they get a decent turnout, but so it can be like not the greatest situation, but the pay was always good, so that's so that, I guess, money has something to do with it.
It always does. Sometimes. Most of the time.
It's true. It's true. So, well, I wonder if there's any questions from. If we have a couple listeners today, and of course, this is going to go up, to be consumed anytime. But I don't know. Maybe we've kind of covered some ground here today. We've got the tea towels coming up. I want to. Going to let people know about that somehow. I know you're supposed to have like a call to action, like a link that people can click on. It'll all be there eventually.
Yeah,
We'll get around to it.
As always, kind of behind the curve a little bit, but I mean, this was fun for a first live one, and thank you to the 5 people who are very quiet and don't want to ask questions.
That's okay. That I know. It's we've told you what we could, and yeah, I think we're getting like a dedicated YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. The podcast will be available as an audio only podcast. I know some people like to, listen while they're walking, and but it'll all keep sorting itself out as we go along.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to have somewhere to go, even if it's, just like in our own little rooms here.
Yep, it's always great to see you. And I look forward to next week. And I guess maybe if anybody has any questions during the week, feel free to, I guess, hit us up on our social media for the time being, and then we'll maybe get a Gmail or something going. I don't know. I can't promise too much because making promises is always a rocky road, but definitely if anyone wants to think of a topic or wants to ask a question, please do. And in the meantime, I guess we can kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, I think so. Let's say good night. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, Amy. I will see you next week, and I hope you find the magic in the meantime.
You too.